Thank you again for joining us, everybody, tonight for our virtual safari. My name is Laura Depesh, and I'm the owner of Bursch Travel. You've got to excuse my background here. I tried to blur it a little bit, but when you work in the travel industry, you travel a lot. So I am actually doing this webinar from my car. But luckily, the two people you really came to hear, they're ready for you. We have Jess Lindquist, who is our travel advisor from Rapid City, just got back from Africa with African travel. And then, of course, we have Rocky. He is our all things Africa. He is our African travel expert, if you will. And he's just going to run us through all of the incredible opportunities there. Um, you know, when I think of Africa, I think about how incredibly unique it is, how beautiful it is. I kind of love how far it is because then, you feel like you're really getting a trip out of it. Um, but all of those things can also make it a little nerve-wracking. It's very different. It's a little bit of a further flight than you're used to. And so when you take those kind of trips, working with a professional makes all the difference. So those two professionals are going to take it away for the rest of the night. Rocky, I'll let you lead the rest of the show. Thanks for being here with us.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Laura. It's so wonderful to be with you, and I next time I see you, I can't wait to see the whole Burst team in person. But right now, we're here virtually, and I thank you all so much for spending your evening, your Wednesday evening here with us, ready to travel to Africa. So we're gonna learn all about it, and it'll be kind of a mix. Jess and I will be kind of sharing our experiences as well, because they Bursch is an amazing travel agency, and what I love about them is the people there. They are all such wonderful people, and they care deeply about each other and their clients, and it just you can feel it every time I'm with Bursch travel agents and agencies. They are wonderful, and it starts from the top down. So Laura, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for hosting me. And Jess, I can't wait to co-host with you here today. So
Thank
a
you.
little bit, as they said, my name is Rocky. I'm with African Travel, and we are a luxury safari operator. And we like to say our motto is we know Africa. Why? That's all we do. We do not go to any other destinations in the world. We are exclusive to Africa. We are, in fact, North America's largest and oldest tour operator that is exclusive to Africa. We've been around for 48 years, and we specialize in tailor-made safaris. And what we mean by that is we will customize your trip the exact way that you want, because Africa is one of those destinations. It is, as Lara was explaining, it is such an amazing destination that they've always dreamt of going to. And it is that trip of a lifetime. So we want to make sure that we put in all of those little moments for you, because, everyone has kind of that same feeling once they go to Africa. They always say that this was a trip that they were looking forward to the most. And when they come back from it, they always say, Africa was my favorite trip I've ever taken. And they want to go back again and again. And what makes it nice and easy for you is through Bursch, we can piece this all together. We'll set up all of your flights because, as Laura was mentioning, it can be as stressful. How do you figure out the logistics? Well, you don't need to worry about that. You work with your Bursch travel advisor and us, and we will piece it all together. So that way, all you really need to do is make sure you get to the airport, and we will handle it from there. We'll set up all of your flights, your accommodations, safari excursions. We can even set up all of the meals and transfers as well too. So that way it is a stress-free experience, because people will have more questions about traveling to Africa than they would other destinations. And that's, understandably so. We will alleviate all of that so that you can just focus on enjoying your vacation. And we're local here and we're local there. So what we mean by that is we have people in every time zone in North America. More importantly for you, when you're in Africa, we have people in every destination we go to. So if something ever happened, you can rest assured knowing that there is going to be someone there that can handle it and fix anything right then and there. So you don't have to worry about, figuring things out in a distant country. you know, we're going to take that stress away from you. And we always want to put in those little personal touches along the way. I don't want to share too many of them, but we like to put in a lot of wow moments for you. And we always like how we do that is we kind of, when we're planning the process with Bursch Travel Advisor and yourselves, we ask a lot of questions. What do you like when you travel? What are your travel styles and preferences? What are your favorite things when you've traveled places? What are things that you don't want to see when you travel? What are your must-haves and must-have-nots? So, uh, I'll just joke, I'll share with mine. Any place I go, I always must have air conditioning. I must have a comfortable bed, and I must have running water and a flushing toilet. Those are, I always say those are my kind of four must-haves. After that, I want other things, but those are the must. So if you have things like that, you let us know. But don't worry, when you're staying with us, everything is going to be luxury. So you won't, even if when you're in what we call a tented safari, you're still going to have all of those luxurious amenities. So you won't have to worry about that. But I just share that. So think about what your must-haves and what your must-have-nots are. And then I'll share this a little bit later, but it's our make travel matter. What we mean by that is how do we make our travel improve the places that we're going to? And I'll share a few of those along the way. And I want to just kind of introduce my co-host, Jess. Jess is right there, and she's holding up a number 7. Jess, do you want to explain what you mean by that?
Absolutely. So I was very, very blessed and lucky to travel to Africa just a short while ago, and it was my seventh continent. And without sounding too biased, definitely in the tops. Definitely in the tops, and
Oh,
cannot wait to go back. But first night on
wow.
safari, had the opportunity to get that shot with the African sunset, and next morning, a giraffe.
Oh, wow. Well done, Jess. You are one of the only people I've ever met that has been to all 7 continents. So, well done.
Thank you.
It's a goal of mine as well, but well done. So, you
Yeah.
know, Now, this is our other host, Lara, and she was actually also in South Africa with us. That's actually where I had the pleasure of meeting Lara. We were on the same trip together back last May. We were on a trip all throughout South Africa. So, between Jess and Lara, you have 2 incredible Bursch travel people that know Africa extremely well. So, I had to just throw that in there. Now, I've kind of Laura and I, we kind of mentioned this. Why safari? Well, there's so many different reasons. I mean, from the diversity of wildlife, that's usually the number one reason that people want to go. But there's so much more else. There's unique experiences, rich cultural experiences as well, from cities to breathtaking landscapes, iconic places within the world, all in Africa. And then you can see also how, anti-poaching and conservation efforts are all out there too, and how we're making the planet better for it. And this is a little bit as to where we go in Africa. Now, we don't go everywhere in Africa. We go pretty much where you think of a safari, from Kenya, Tanzania, and Rwanda over in East Africa, all the way on down to Botswana and South Africa in Southern Africa. We also go to North Africa, Morocco, and Egypt, and we also go to the eighth continent of the world, Madagascar. So it's not officially a continent. So don't worry, Jess, you don't have to go there just yet. But if you go
But
there,
I
you can hold
will.
up number 8. So
Yes.
now,
Yes.
one of the biggest complaints we used to get is it's so far to get there. And, I live out in the Los Angeles area. So I can get to East Africa or Southern Africa in one connection. Now, if that's sometimes on the East Coast, you can get nonstops from JFK, Newark, Washington, Dulles, Atlanta, and then on down to Africa. Or you could always fly over to Europe and the Middle East and then down. So it really kind of depends on how you want. But, if you're in Minnesota, you can get there in one connection. Uh, as like I said, I'm in LA, one connection, I'm there. So when you get there, we're gonna have, our we can put in our VIP airport experience where they can meet you at the airport and make it so it's a nice, smooth transition. That, for example, when I was there, that little circle photo, that's my son in the middle. We were just there in November and December of last year, and we had someone meet us even before we got in through customs,
Mhm.
walked us to customs, and then kind of explained the whole thing, was right on the other side, walked us to the get our bags. We didn't pick them up, he did, walked us over to our driver, and then we were taken straight to our airport. So, airports always stress me out. So anytime you can alleviate some of that stress, it just makes it that much more special and worth it. Now, I like to say, I'm a dad, so I do throw in my dad jokes, so excuse me, but no two zebras have the same stripes. Well, no two travelers have the same travel styles and preferences. So we're all about finding the right Africa for you. So we have all of our brochures are digital, but we have, we cater to all kinds of varieties from, if you're looking for a honeymoon or celebrating a special occasion, anniversary, or if you've got, the multi-generation family, you've got the grandparents want to take the kids and the grandkids, to, our pride safaris for the LGBTQ community, or if you just want to travel solo, we have options like that too. So we're all about finding the right Africa for you. And we are all about safari your way. So we're all about putting in those special experiences. And what we do is we've got three main ways of safaring. Most of what we do is going to be that tailor-made safari. You tell us what experiences you want, destinations, what animals you want to see too, and we'll customize something just the way you want. So if you're like, I want to see Cape Town, I want to see Victoria Falls, I want to see the Serengeti, and I want to see Cairo, no problem. We'll set that all up for you. We also have our small group journeys, which are kind of the locally hosted. They range from like 12 to 20 people, and you're going to have, locally hosted guides along the way. So when you're in Cape Town, you'd have a Cape Town expert. When you're on safari, you'll have an expert from that park reserve. And then we also have our escorted vacations. And this one is you'll have someone from African Travel, like myself, or one of our tour managers that will actually basically be with you the whole trip along the way, kind of like a more traditional tour manager. And you'd still have local guides coming in and there. And those ones, maximum of 14 people on it. So these are kind of the main ways so that our clients want to travel. So we have that all set up. And people want to think of those wow moments. It could be something from the accommodations to unique lodges around the world, around Africa, excuse me, and also maybe seeing Africa from the land, the water, or the air. So we want to put those wow moments in there for you, and we want to make sure that you feel the ultimate luxury throughout your whole trip, whether that's in some of the amazing hotels and lodges that we go to all around. When you're in the cities, you'll still feel like you're being pampered, 5-star along the way. We're in great locations all throughout the places that we're going to. So you're going to feel very much that you're being pampered. When you're on safari out in, we call it the bush, but boy, we like the park or the jungle, that those are the terms that most of us know here. But when you're out in the bush, these are the type of lodges that you're going to stay in. They're still going to have all those 5-star amenities, but still feel very much like a part of the destination. So that you feel like you're in Africa when you're there. If you want to stay in private villas, we have those options out there in the middle of the bush too. If there's, say, like 4 couples, they want to go get kind of their own private home out there on safari, we have those options as well. Tented safaris, when I say tented safari, I don't mean the Coleman tents from Walmart, with all due respect. Um, this is the type of tented safari. As I mentioned, I had my, standards. I want to make sure that I've got a comfortable bed, running water, flushing toilet. As you can see in these tented safaris, you're going to have all of that as well. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you can always spend a night out in one of the tree houses out there. Now, this is maybe not for everyone, but if you're out there celebrating a special occasion and you're feeling adventurous, this is an amazing way. You don't have to do it every night, but one night out there, sleep out under the stars, an amazing way to go. Now, I'm going to kind of start now from Southern Africa and move our way up to South Africa, to East Africa and up. Now, South Africa is a great way. I always kind of say it's Africa 101 because it's a great way intro into Africa because it has such a mix of city and cultural options as well as safari elements. So like this is down in Cape Town, right in the vibrant waterfront area. Cape Town has amazing history as well too. So if you wanted to see, I always describe Cape Town as kind of like San Francisco meets Miami, but like San Francisco, if you've ever been there, you'll know that there's a little island out there, uh, Alcatraz. Well, Cape Town has its own Alcatraz. It's called Robben Island, and that's where Mr. Mandela was incarcerated for 17 years. And actually, you can have tours of this island that's now just a museum with his personal jailer turned best friend, Mr. Christo Brand. In fact, Lara and I, we met him when we were in South Africa together. So he's an amazing, very, very soft spoken, but really kind gentleman. And you can hear the stories of not just, apartheid, but the personal stories that he has of with Mr. Mandela that are amazing. And, I'm going to pass it over here to Jess because Jess can tell you some other things that she's done in Cape Town and South Africa with us. So, Jess?
When I was there, we were very, very lucky. We had 4 nights in Cape Town before we jumped over to Safari. From minute one, picked up at the airport to the accommodations to the guides, you couldn't be disappointed. But a lot of the big sites, they take you, out of the big city up to the major sites. We've got, oh gosh, we are at the top of Table Mountain, and I am not one to dangle off a string in any kind of structure. But that little ride right there in the middle, that was actually a ton of fun. And it even gives you a slow spin on your way up. So you get the full 360 all the way to the top of the mountain. They get you out and about a little bit to some of the national parks, some of the preserves close to Cape Town. Just fully immersive. Cape of Good Hope, right down there in the southern part of it. And it's just the immersion that you get and the things that you couldn't imagine seeing. There's from the water. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And penguins. I got to see, of course, the Antarctica penguins, and these guys, they're kind of cuter. I'm not gonna lie. You get to walk up, you could touch them, frowned upon, but you could. Um, just the diversity in the landscape and the options could be truly customized to anything your heart desired in that area. And the food. We cannot forget the food. This experience is called Gold's Restaurant, and I think it's 13 courses, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
it's like a 13, 14 course meal, and you get to do
Yes.
drumming as well too. So it's an
Yes.
amazing experience.
You open the night playing your own drum. There's a drum on your chair, and then the food just doesn't stop. It is absolutely exquisite and such a fun time.
And then the Cape Winelands,
And
I'll
there's
let,
wine.
yep. Laura got to go out here too with us too. And so it's kind of like the Napa Valley meets the Grand Tetons.
Mhm.
And yeah,
The views are incredible. You can take a full day or even just a half a day if you want to keep it light. And you've got a custom private guide that takes you from A to B. You get to do some of these really cool experiences. We got to blend our own wine. That's my husband making up his potion right there. We brought it home and we're waiting for the right celebration to crack those open. But such a unique and different souvenir, something you got to create and experience on vacation and take home.
this is my favorite personal experience of any winery anywhere in the world. Uh, like a, like Jess said, you get to make your own blend of wine, and you do tasting, so they teach you how to do it. And I've been here a few times, so I've tasted the wines that I've made, and I've got to say I was impressed with my work there. So you'll enjoy yours too, I'm sure,
We're
Jess.
looking forward to it.
And I mean, the sunsets in the winelands are just, I've never seen a bad sunset anywhere in Africa. And then,
They
you
don't
know,
make those.
yeah, and the safari element. Well, I'm just going to give you a little bit as to kind of what a day on safari with us is going to feel like. ready to go on safari? I mean, I'm I could spend all day every day on safari, but sometimes people are like they want to go see the big five because that's a term they've heard, and that's an amazing to see them all. So, from the buffalo to the rhino, the elephant, the leopard, and of course the lion. But there's more species than just the big five. There's also the little five. Do you know all these ones here? But it's, I mean, incredible to see here too. So, you have the elephant shrew, the leopard tortoise, the rhinoceros beetle, the buffalo weaver, and the ant lion down there too. So you could see them. There's also my personal favorite, the ugly five. I don't think they're that ugly, but there's Pumbaa up there, vultures, hyenas, wildebeest, and the marabou stork. So, there's all kinds of creatures. So you might have thought, I want to come see lions, but then you might end up, seeing them and then finding other new animals that you never even thought of that, blow you away. So as you can see, we'll pick you up along the way. So there's Laura again on safari. And then we also have Jess here. So I'm going to let Jess kind of walk through her own safari experience here as well. So looks like you're ready to go again.
That was an afternoon drive, of course. So the experience we had, we were in Lion Sands. I took that picture. We were in Lion Sands and Kruger, and you start early. The critters are up and going real first thing in the morning. You get out. There's a light breakfast ready before you hit the road, coffee to go should you wish. And you're paired with a vehicle with a couple other people, and you've got your very own game spotter. You've got your own guide. You've got someone bonus if you're lucky, and you let them know what you're dying to see. They do their best to find it, and odds are high they will.
What
We
were you dying to see?
all of
All
it. And
right.
of course, the big five rings true with that's a goal. And luckily, we were able to catch them all in 24 hours. Within the time we arrived at the lodge and had lunch, there were elephants crossing the river as I was having my salad. And by that evening, we had lions. And then the next day, by our second drive on day two, we got the rhino and the rest of it. We were there also in the November, December timeframe where you get those little babies. And if you look at this rhino here, I think the next shot. Nope, we got a buffalo. We got a buffalo.
But I like this buffalo shot that you got because you've got it's very rare that you can ever get the big five and the little five in the same photo, and you got
There we
one there.
the
You
little
got the
guy.
buffalo weaver and the buffalo in the same photo. So this is
Yes.
one of those like rare photos that you can get, but amazing to get.
And then you get the little cute critters in there too. We had a special little walk after part of our game drive one morning where they heard the hippos, and we just climbed a little butte with our guides and looked over, and there were about 12 of them soaking it up, cooling off.
And what I love about hippos, a fun fact about them, they really don't swim well.
Oh, they kind
They
of bob.
actually they run underwater, which is
Hmm.
a fun little fact. They run very fast underwater, so don't test them to a swim test. But
No, and they're huge.
yeah,
Huge. You can get all the little baby elephants running around too. It's incredible how diverse the wildlife is and how close you get to see it. This is another picture that I took. This is the first evening, shortly before that shot of me and my number seven. Completely had no idea. Middle of the drive, you pull over, full bar, some snacks, some cocktails, and a chance to really speak with your guides, with your game spotters and the trackers, and just cool off. You want a gin and tonic? I had two for you.
gin and tonic's usually my drink of choice when I'm out there. Uh, I like it because tonic is has quinine in it. That
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Livingston found out, so it helps prevent malaria. The gin just helps it go down nicer. So
Gin's just nice.
yeah,
Now, that last picture where we had the rhino, if you see that bush on the far left of the picture, that rhino crept up behind that bush and got close enough that I didn't get my second gin that night. We had to go. But we came across this full spread. It was set up by the Lion Sands resort that we stayed at. These are some of the employees there that just every chance you saw them made it feel like home. And a little charcuterie on the side never hurt either.
oh yeah, yeah. You can try some new interesting foods though. Last time I was in Africa,
Mm.
Uh, Tried a little bit in that charcuterie, some crocodile, which was
Yes.
tastes like chicken.
Little crocodile, little
Yeah.
ostrich, whatever you're feeling that night. This is the patio at our lodge. I had dinner there and that elephant was there.
Yeah, I mean, you got plenty of great dining with a view there in Africa. So, even when you're back at your lodge, you can sometimes still get incredible game viewing from your lodge too. I mean, I would always wake up to my alarm clock of vervet monkeys running across the roof,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
always fun.
The
So,
monkeys know where the snacks are.
yeah, yeah, watch your stuff around them. But there's so much to see within Africa, from just cheetahs to the African wild dog. These are the kind of the next big six and seven of them. Rhinos, as we kind of mentioned, they're one of the big five. They're critically endangered, and we work with reserves and conservancies that are working to protect them, because unfortunately, that rhino horn on the that you see there is worth over $1 million on the black market. So we are always in the forefront in the battle against poaching. So it's ridiculous that it exists. That horn is made from the same material as your fingernail. So, but unfortunately, some places in the world, um, it's a prized commodity. So we're always in the forefront in the battle against poaching. And when you travel with us, you'll know that you're getting that, the money that's spent is going to protecting these beautiful creatures. But, it's not just the big creatures. The little creatures are sometimes just as important. As I would explain to my son, these guys are kind of like the garbage men of the bush. Without them, the entire ecosystem would collapse. So it's important to, every creature, every plant has its role. And if you take one out, there is a ripple effect that affects the ecosystem and all the wildlife. So, that's what our rangers, try to emphasize, that you can see the beauty in everything that's there. And, as I mentioned, my kid, I told him this is the garbage man. Well, Africa is an amazing destination for children because, I mean, they're going to learn more here than they do in the classroom, because they're just getting immersed with nature and the wildlife. My son, admittedly, he is a city boy. After that first game drive, though, he completely opened up and was all about the safari. Now he wants to be a ranger and, help in protecting the wildlife for the future. So it's amazing. And now he's always asking, when can we go back on safari? So I've got to put together my next safari trip for all of us later this year. So it's an amazing experience for them. It really enriches. And then, who those little selfie moments along the way, always fun. So, that's just all, that was all just in South Africa. But then, people want to go from there, a quick little extension up to Zambia, Zimbabwe. Why? For Victoria Falls. This is one of the natural wonders of the world. If you've been to Niagara Falls, the Victoria Falls are more than twice the height and more than 3 times the width. It's the single largest curtain of water in the world. More water goes over the edge in 1 minute than the entire city of New York consumes in a day. So we'll give you tours of that along the way. And when you're staying in Victoria Falls, why not stay in a villa kind of right on the Zambezi River? So these would be the types of accommodations we'd be wanting to send you to. Spend a nice evening on a sunset cruise out there on the Zambezi River. Botswana is a great extension as well. What I love about it is it's one of the least densely populated countries in the world. You could fit the state of Minnesota inside of it about 4 times, and there's only about 2 million people in the whole country. So it is so sparsely populated that you're just completely out there in nature. As Laura was mentioning, just you're so away from everything that it feels amazing. And what I love about Botswana, it's all about the land meets the water safari, because there's the Okavango Delta out there, which is this amazing river system that goes it's this river, and instead of flowing out into a delta that goes out into a sea or an ocean, this one just evaporates into the ground. So you can see how the wildlife have adapted to it. And when you're out there, we can even do, what Jess and I were explaining, that kind of happy hour sundowners out there in the bush, a little bit of a delta style out there. We can also take you up now to East Africa. So Tanzania, we always say we know that too. This is where the safari really kind of got started. If you're like, I want to see the Great Migration, we know where that's going to go. It's in Tanzania and Kenya. Kind of goes back and forth between them two. It's about 4 to 5 million wildebeest that are constantly on the migration. It never ends. So depending on the time of year, you might be in Tanzania for it. Other times of the year, you might be in Kenya, but we know when it's going to be around there. If you're all about that, we have this itinerary, the world's greatest show and safari, where it's going to basically take you throughout. You're going to follow the Great Migration out there. The Serengeti, an amazing, iconic destination. And this is what it feels like if you're out there in the middle of the Great Migration, just wildlife all around you. And the Serengeti, it means endless plains, as you can kind of see here. These plains just go on and on. And it's amazing to see how well the wildlife can blend in here. I remember when I took this photo, there were 22 lions, but to this day, I can only see 14. They blend in that well. So uh, it's amazing to see them. Sometimes they'll even, the wildlife, they just view you as a safari vehicle. You're not a threat. You're not food or anything like that. So sometimes they'll just kind of hang out near you, like, oh, here's a little bit of shade, come hang out here for about 10 minutes and then move on. Ngorongoro crater, it was a volcano that about 3 million years ago collapsed upon itself and now is basically the Garden of Eden of Africa. All the wildlife here stays there year round. So if you missed it on the Great Migration, don't worry, come here, you'll see it all there. And what I love about it is, the crater of the rim, you're about 7,500 to 8,000 feet up. The crater floor is 5,000 feet. And in the morning, if you wake up early enough, you can see the kind of the fog roll over, and it kind of looks like a waterfall going over the mountains. So it's an amazing sight to see. The wildlife in Africa is amazing. People you always say like the big five, but if you're a bird lover, there are so many different varieties of birds, from like the beautiful ostriches here to all these little beautiful birds along the way. Just such a diversity. In some areas, just in like small areas, you can find over 400 bird species just in that reserve. So it is a great area to see all the wildlife there. I mean, elephants are still there too, so you could see some great wildlife viewing along the way. Who doesn't like to see baby elephants? I love seeing them. They remind me of toddlers because they do throw temper tantrums and they do cry from time to time. So they're adorable to see because it takes them about a year and a half to learn how to use their trunk. So it's fun to see them, trying to figure things out. It's fun to see the wildlife interact with each other too. So this lioness was trying to get some food, but was unsuccessful, and you can see that Thompson gazelle just hopping away. And then there's also one of the most unique things you can do, a walking safari. And Jess, you've actually done one, so you want to share your views from it?
Absolutely, absolutely. We had the option to do a walking safari on our final day, and of course, sign me up. Sign me up. I've been eating my heart's content the whole time, so it's time for a walk. And while you see so much from those vehicles, you get so much time out and see the big things. You come down on foot, and the big things are either really big or you get to see the small things. It's a drastically different experience. The guides are absolutely brilliant and so knowledgeable. And you get to pick and point those little things that you tend to miss going by vehicle. And it was just such an immersive and incredible experience that I'd take a couple more of the walkers over the riders because it was just such a unique experience.
I 100% agree with you, Jess. Couldn't have said it any better, too. And the sunsets in Africa, I mean, like I said, I've never seen a bad sunset out
He
there.
didn't take this picture from the Lion King.
No, no.
This
These
is
these are
for
all
real.
photos from myself or a colleague of mine or Jess's photos. So
Hmm.
these are all just, I mean, these are amazing photos along the way. And then what I like too is we'll take you on a night game drive too, and that's where you can see the wildlife at night and see all the stars above you too. So it's an incredible experience along the way. We'll take you up to Kenya as well. This is actually where the safari all started, and then from there spread to the rest of Africa. And one thing that we always like to do that make travel matter before we go on safari, we'll visit one of my favorite places in the world is the Kazuri Bead Factory in Nairobi. And it started in the 1970s, just two women trying to, make, a living by selling beaded jewelry. And they were successful with it, so much so that instead of them just kind of, building a huge amount of wealth for themselves, they decided, I want to help other women, around the country learn how to not just make the beaded jewelry, how to run their own business back in their hometowns too. So where they learn how to do accounting, marketing, and all the things that you would need to know to have your own successful business. So, now the beaded this factory, there's usually over around 300 people there learning how to do it so that they can be successful in their hometowns as well. So I've got a nice little belt from here that I usually wear whenever I'm on presentations in person. You could see it there, but just a great experience to give back to. Another thing that we do is elephant orphanage up there. And what I like about this is, unfortunately, poaching is a real threat, and elephants are poached. One rhino is poached every day. Sorry, one rhino is poached every 8 hours, so three in a day. 100 elephants are poached every day in Africa. And if mama gets poached, the baby will not survive. So this orphanage goes and finds elephants that, baby elephants that, were victims of poaching, and rehabilitates them, teaches them the things that their mama would, so that they can be reintroduced back into the wild. And, if your clients want to go here, we can always even set up adopt an elephant, and so that when you go there on your trip, you can meet that elephant too and see the work that you're doing, and that the fact that your trip is improving their lives. Because like I said, elephants, it takes them a year and a half to learn how to use their trunks. So if they don't have mama there to help them, you know, they unfortunately will perish. And elephants and rhinos are critically endangered. And when you're out there, you can see also these iconic views of Africa. This looks straight out of The Lion King because you got Mount Kilimanjaro, which is technically in Tanzania, but the best view of it is from Kenya. And you can see these beautiful elephants out there too. The Masai Mara is an amazing area to see that great migration as well. This is, kind of those views of what it's like when you're out there in the middle of it. Some places, if you could drive over land, but I always recommend, if you can, fly from camp to camp. Just saves you time. And some places it is far logistically. People forget how big Africa is. So we can sometimes fly from one camp to the next camp that you want to go stay at. So, these small bush planes, maybe it's not for everyone. So if this is like one of those things you don't want, let us know and we won't put that in your itinerary. But if you're adventurous, I love flying in these type of planes. We'll take you up to the Lewa area too. This is a great area. You can see Mount Kenya, where the country Kenya gets its name, but it also is really good for black rhino conservation, and that they so much so that they've been able to take black rhinos from here and put them in other parts of Africa too, where they used to be. And again, those sunrises and sunsets are amazing everywhere you go. We also go to Rwanda, and this is an amazing destination if you want to do gorilla trekking, because this is where you could see there's about 1,000 mountain gorillas left in the wild, and you can go trek with them and see them and their families. There's also golden monkeys there too, which are amazing to see. And when you're going to go visit uh, the gorillas, why not go stay in some of these lodges that really fit the destination that you're going to? I mean, it looks almost like something out of Star Wars, but is an amazing place to see. Rwanda, is more than just the gorillas. Most people come for the gorillas, but they stay because of how wonderful the people are. Rwanda itself is the safest country in Africa. In fact, in 2018, it was ranked the fifth safest country in the world. And, it's also one of the cleanest cities and countries in the world. And how that started was, if you know history, about 30 years ago in 1994, they had a horrific genocide that came from a civil war. In 100 days, 1 million people were massacred. Now, this is a small country, only 12 million people today. So 1 million is a huge number for something like that. And how they overcame it was they have this tradition called umuganda, and this is where basically Rwandan law requires all adults 18 to 65 to spend their last Saturday a month helping their community and their neighbors. It could be doing anything from cleaning the streets to helping build a home or a barn. But now most Rwandans, they do it every Saturday because it's such a fun activity for them to give back. So this is one of those things that I recommend to, anyone who's visiting. If you're there on a Saturday, take part in something like this. It's such a great way. You feel connected. You're really meeting people out there and doing something truly, uh, authentic that the locals would be doing too. And we also go to Egypt. We have a great ancient Egypt itinerary where you get to see the pyramids, get private access tour into some of the tombs, sailing on the Nile River in an ancient felucca, which is those sailboats that used to sail the Nile thousands of years ago. We also go to Morocco and you get some incredible flavors out there, up in the Atlas Mountains, having some wonderful Moroccan tea to all, visiting Marrakesh, one of the great cities of the world, and those iconic markets that are just a, a feast for the senses. We also go to Namibia, which is down in southern Africa, but is all about how the wildlife adapted to the desert. And when you're going to go out here, you see just dunes and desert life. And when you're going to stay out here in, say, the shipwreck coast, why not stay in the shipwreck lodge? Just all these lodges that we want you to really feel like you're a part of Africa. I always recommend, if you can, do what we call the bush and the beach. It's a safari, and then you go relax on one of the nice beaches in East Africa, whether that's Zanzibar or in Mozambique. There's also Seychelles or Mauritius that we could always set up as well. So just depending on where in Africa you're going on safari is probably where I would recommend, hey, maybe go spend a few days out there relaxing on the beach. And as you can see, they're not overrun like, say, Hawaii or the Caribbean or the Mediterranean. These Once Instagram figures these things out, they'll take off. But until then, you can kind of enjoy that secluded private island there. And speaking of islands, we go to Madagascar, and this is an amazing itinerary where you can go from instead of if you were to drive this whole itinerary, it would take you about 12 days. We charter flights in here, so that way saves you 5 days. It's only a 7 day itinerary. You can take those extra days, go on safari elsewhere in mainland Africa. But here's where you can see the lemurs and how they adapted to this island life. 80% of the flora and fauna is only found in Madagascar. That's why we call it the eighth continent of the world. People always ask me, when's the best time to go to Africa? Well, anytime's the best time to go. The wildlife, they're not going to be leaving, so they're always going to be there. But that said, I think if you can go during what we call the green season, that's probably the best time to go because you'll by green season, I mean kind of November through April. Not as many people are traveling because peak travel time for Americans is June, July, August. So you're not going to deal with the large crowds, which means you can usually get better airfare rates and better availability at the lodges that you want to go to. Sometimes you can even see promotions during this time, like kids travel free. So it's a great time to go. So if you can, that's generally when I would say, but any time is a good time to visit Africa. Two of the itineraries that we have, I mentioned we're all about tailor-made itineraries, and that's what we do mostly. But if you want to do one of our escorted concierge vacations, that's where we have someone from African Travel as your tour manager that is with you your entire trip. We have two itineraries. One that's the Southern Explorer that goes to South Africa and Victoria Falls. And then we also have the Best of Tanzania that's going to really focus on that northern circuit where you see the Serengeti and Ngorongoro. These ones, 14 guests maximum, and you'd have that tour manager with you the whole way through. Now, if you're like, I really want to see Africa, but budget is a big concern, well, we do have some of those options as well, and these are our small group itineraries. They're locally hosted. 12 to 20 people max, but when you're in a safari vehicle, 6 people is going to be the maximum in your safari vehicle anyways. But as you can see here, there's some great itineraries that if want to go to Africa, but budget is more of a concern, this is an area that I would look at too, because we have 2 itineraries for South Africa. We also have Tanzania in here. And then Kenya, in that particular Kenya wildlife safari, you can get international airfare out of JFK included in here. And look at the rates down there. I mean, some dates, if you were to go in April or May of this year, are around 6,600 per person, including that international air out of JFK. You know, these, with all of our competitors, these would all start around 20 to 25,000 per person. With us, you know, we have the largest supplier within Africa, so we can make sure that you're always getting the best deals and the best rates for the best value through Bursch. So we always work with Bursch, and just know when you're going through them, you're gonna get the best value out there. So like for like, apples to apples, we're always going to give you that best value. And I always like to say this, and this is true. Anyone who's been to Africa will say this. Africa is that destination that, once you go there, you just want to go back again and again. And so much so that Karen Blixen, she wrote Out of Africa, if there were one more thing I could do, it would be to go on safari once again. And that's always, once I'm done with the safari, I just am thinking, when's my next one? And this is also, a special offer for Bursch. You know, uh, if you book one of our tailor-made journeys or one of our escorted concierge safaris from our concierge collection within 2 weeks of tonight, will receive a $500 credit per couple toward your next booking. So this is, you have to contact your Bursch travel advisor, and you have to mention that code down there, 500S25S. Tell that to your Bursch travel advisor, whether that's Jess or someone else on the Bursch team. Let them know, and we can put in that little extra credit there for you as a way of saying thank you so much for attending this travel webinar. And, I can't wait to see you all in Africa. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to Jess. I'll stay on the line here too. But one last thing I just want to say, Nkoso Hakolu, it just means thank you in Xhosa, which is one of the languages in South Africa. Or if you're going to East Africa, Asante Sana also means thank you in Swahili. So thank you so much. That's me and my family there, and that could be you when you're going to South Africa or anywhere in Africa. So thank you so much. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to come here tonight. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'll open it up to anyone that does.
Absolutely. And you can feel free to unmute or turn on your camera and ask away. Or if you're feeling a little bit more shy, you can throw it in the chat. My apologies for not turning my camera back on. I told you I was working from the parking lot, and I still it's now dark. So you can't see me anyway, but I couldn't drive away. I wanted to watch this because it takes you right back to Africa. We say it so many times that it starts to sound fake or disingenuous, but it truly is a magical
What,
place.
what's amazing about Africa is, I could be on safari every day for the rest of my life, and every day will be different because it's unscripted. You never know.
Absolutely. All right, I'm not seeing anything yet, but we'll give it another minute. In the meantime, like Rocky said, please, please, please reach out to your Bursch travel advisor for any questions. You can find their information on our website, which is just www.burschtravel.com. This recording will also be on our YouTube page. We've got a YouTube channel that lists this webinar as well as other ones. You can find us on Facebook. There are so many different ways to find us, but please contact your advisor. We're not just there to book your travel. We're there to learn about you and really create the perfect trip for you. So don't miss out on the opportunity to have somebody like Jess make this absolutely perfect for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Rocky. And especially a big thank you to all of you that did spend your evening with us. If questions come to mind down the road, there's anything we can do for you, reach out. It's what we do. It's what we do best. And we're so passionate about it.
Couldn't have said it better. All right. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you, Jess. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your night and safe travels.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.